And let's start the Zoom.
Oh, shoot. There's no printed copies of the agendas.
Here you go. I have this.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, you can use it. I have one on that, so.
Your notes have been great since
Oh,
I
thank
haven't been in here in person. They've been really, really good for me to follow.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Thank you.
I didn't want to be too much, but not enough either, so,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, because when you're not here, too much is good.
Yeah, that's true.
I like
And it
that.
must be
Easier.
interesting learning about the town as you go through this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We don't have a quorum?
Not yet, we need one more person. There's someone by the name of Luke who joined, but
Judy said she was gonna be able to join.
yes, she did. We'll give it a minute. He responded that he can't join,
Okay.
He's waiting to see if Tim or Holly or Judy can join.
And Caleb, you may not realize, but, in terms of my written reports, they were only done as a courtesy for the secretary.
Oh, okay.
And, so just, you know that I didn't send a written report.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
not required.
Okay.
No one's liking us tonight.
No,
See.
Hi, Billy.
Hello.
We're waiting on a
Mhm.
fourth to make a quorum.
I assume Keith's not gonna be here.
He
he
can't be
said he
here,
couldn't join, so
but Judy said he could.
Keith said he couldn't make it, so
But his wife just got through surgery, so.
hope it's all gone okay. Is it all going okay? or-
Yeah, she. That's the virtue. Do you have a deck of cards or anything?
Somebody just
Everybody
responded, I don't know
has,
who that is, so.
Solitaire can be gone.
Someone responded to the text?
Yeah, the 443 number, I don't know who that is. Says I was working late, might be Judy, I don't know, it's not, oh, it doesn't come up as Judy, but.
Oh, Holland says he can join in a couple minutes.
What's their name? Holland?
Holland, Holid. And his last name is Love, Love.
Try to keep things interesting.
Is
See
Holland,
if you keep that, you put-
He's a,
is Holland a full member? He's
He's
an
a-
alternate, yeah.
You want me to see if I can get him down here for a few minutes or?
well, if Howard can
Keith?
join in, good.
Yeah, if Holland can join, we're fine. So where are we?
That's the,
I was like.
it's not me, usually it
Dial
is
up.
me, but it's not me. I turn that off, it'll just start beeping annoyingly when it happens. I was making myself somewhere. Tell my wife it's on there, the only person I listen to. so.
Yeah.
So I do it.
Oh, so
Here's Holland.
So just if you're not aware, Sherry Susie will be out all of next week.
Is everything okay?
She's driving her son to school out in Wisconsin.
Holland, can you hear us?
No?
Holland, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
There we go.
Great. Oh. Can you unmute yourself? I just want to make sure it's working.
He doesn't look muted.
Yeah, can you hear me?
There we
Yes.
go.
Great, all right, let's call the meeting to order at 7:08. Looking for the agenda. There it is. Okay, roll call and seating of alternates. Roll call, Christina Davis, present. Paul Varga,
Here,
Judy Austin. Not present. Angie DeSanto, not present. Keith Lipker, not present. Pam Summers.
I'm present.
As far as alternates, Tim Rhodes, not present. Holland Love,
I am present.
thank you. And Hugh McKenzie is not present. So Holland, I will speak you for Angie. Thank
All
you. Communications, I have heard from the Region 19 superintendent regarding enrollment, which I'll share when we talk about the budget. And then I also got a communication from the first select woman that I shared with everyone prior to this meeting regarding the Zoom license that we voted to purchase at our last meeting. So we can talk about that when we talk about the budget. The Board of Finance budget, which is item C. And then that's all I have for communications. The next is public comment. Would anyone like to make a public comment? Okay. Moving on. New business, we have select woman's update.
I provided that to you.
So that's what I said when you first walked in, Catherine, you sent an email, but there wasn't an attachment.
Oh, my apologies. I'll read it to you then.
Okay.
Senior Center, AmeriGas refused to fill the, and I'll give it to you afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
AmeriGas refused to fill the propane tank at the senior center, stating the underground tank needs to be at least 10 feet away from air conditioning condensers, and then a new tank must be installed. This is despite the state fire marshal's 2020 waiver for current 8-foot spacing and the several years that AmeriGas has been filling the current tank. Spicer Gas will be our new propane supplier for the senior center. Propane costs will be between $177 and $199 a gallon. General government budget call for 2025 to 2026. The Board of Selectmen are continuing their review of individual department requests. 25-26 capital improvement projects. The CIP committee meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 3rd at 5:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
You'll get an electronic copy.
Thank you. Okay, next item is item B, discussion and possible action regarding a recommendation from the Board of Selectmen to send to public hearing / town meeting. Consideration of the appropriation of $80,000 from the undesignated fund balance as a municipal match for a Connecticut steep grant. That was a very long sentence. I did share some background information that's linked in the agenda. However, Chris did want me to point out that what was shared is a draft in terms of the application for the grant. So I don't know, Catherine or Chris, if you want to share a little background on
The only thing
project.
I'd like to do as a lead-in is commend Chris for the work that she's done on this. She did it within a very tight time frame. We understand that the time frame's very, very tight. And if we cannot get approval at this point to proceed forward with this, then we know that we cannot get the steep grant. We'll not be able to get the steep grant this year to pave the public works area. So, but again, I commend her for the work that she's done, even laying out a pretty tight, the tight timeline we have to meet in order to have a public meeting, a public hearing, town meeting as the final approval, which is 2 days before the deadline to file this for the steep grant.
What's the deadline?
The deadline is February 22nd.
No, February 20th.
I thought,
It has to
the
be
meeting,
filed by the 20th.
it has to be filed by the 20th and the town meeting. She can take you through
Is the
that.
10th. We scheduled, we're trying to schedule for the 10th.
We're trying to do it earlier.
Okay.
Is there anything about the project that you want to let
I'm
us know?
sorry?
Is there anything about the project itself that you want to let us know?
Just a little tiny bit of background. It's something that's been discussed or looked at many times over the years, because everybody who's been to the transfer station knows about the potholes and the cracks and the ice and the water and we figured with this grant announcement, we may as well try for it. and get it done, because the longer it waits, the worse it's gonna be and the more expensive it's gonna be. So we thought we'd give it a shot.
Out of curiosity, how many of you go to the transfer station yourself? Okay. So, you know what it's like getting your car through there.
Right. You know, one of the things we did, we got a traffic counter from Yukon to measure traffic coming into the transfer station portion of the facility. And before we even got that, Hadley, one of our public works employees, counted with a hand clicker. And a couple of times, I think every time, we had over 600 cars come in. Just coming in
Oh, my God.
in a day, in a 3-day period.
Wow.
I believe that easily.
He's actually provided
Yeah.
reports since he started.
Right. And as far as the top portion, where the public works garage is. That's an issue with degrading paving. And the sand and salt which is stored up there, the more the pavement degrades. The more possibility we have of runoff contaminating the property. And other people's property. So we figured, since they're joined, we figured we'd put it all in for one and do what we can.
So the total project cost would be what roughly?
It's,
We're applying for 4. And we're asking for a match of 80, because they're looking, DECD is pushing a 20% match.
So it's 480 total? Or
480
total?
total,
Okay.
Yep.
So in order to get the 400,
yeah,
the town needs to allocate funds,
right,
as a match.
and that's gonna happen with virtually every state grant, from what I understand. They're gonna look for municipal matches.
Mhm. And we have done this before, just background for folks. So the last time we had a steep project, it was for paving Southworth Drive.
Southworth Drive, and we did that was a 10% match. So the town put up 50,000. We applied for 500, and we put up 50. And actually came in. We had to return, or we didn't return, $17,000 to the state.
And so if the action that we're being asked to take tonight is to basically authorize appropriation from the undesignated fund balance
Right.
of $80,000. And then
Recommend to the Board of Selectmen, they call a public hearing town meeting.
right. So I have the language that you shared, Chris, this paragraph. So maybe I should read it and then someone can make the motion if they're so interested. So this says, in anticipation, and I'll get you this language, Kayla.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a long sentence.
stop typing.
In anticipation of the town of Ashford applying for a 2025 steep grant for the purpose of reclaiming and repaving the town's public works facility. And acting on a recommendation adopted by the Ashford Board of Selectmen at their special meeting of January 28th, 2025. The Ashford Board of Finance recommends that a public hearing / special town meeting be held to appropriate the sum of $80,000 from the undesignated fund balance to comply with the Department of Economic and Community Development's requirement that municipalities commit matching funds for their project. So that's the proposed motion. Although I'll ask one question. This says, for the purpose of reclaiming and repaving the town's public works facility. Is that what we want to say, or is it the town's transfer station?
It's
facility?
the whole thing. It's
Okay.
it's public works from Route 74, Public Works Garage, all the way down. I have a preliminary drawing from the engineer, which shows scope. It's gonna be a 2-page
that whole facility is within the realm of the, administration of public works, so we've always called it the public works property.
Okay, I just thought it was the transfer station, so I just want to make sure
They're technically
we
not
say the right
separated.
thing.
They're not separate.
Yeah, no. I'll make the motion in red,
I'll second it.
and then I do have one question, just for clarification for the public who watches. Listen, Catherine, if we were denied the steep grant, the funds, the 80,000 would be
Right.
agreed. Just want to make sure that that's for the public. I understand that, but I want to make sure the public understands that if we were denied the grant, the money would not be spent. It would be returned back to the undesignated.
It would actually never be.
Right, it would never be taken.
Yeah.
And the other part of this is, in the past, we didn't have to put up essentially the 20% is
Right.
more than we typically have had to put up. However, it buys you points.
Right.
So that we are taken seriously. They take a serious look at us.
Okay, is there any other discussion or questions? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Olive,
Did you vote? I didn't hear you.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so that passes.
All right, I'm going to send a legal notice.
Nice job,
Thank you
nice
very
job.
thank you.
Thanks for your work, Chris.
Yeah, she has everything lined up, everything from getting these legal notices. and
Wonderful.
Et cetera.
Okay, so the next item is discussion and possible action to revise the proposed 2025-2026 Board of Finance budget to include a Zoom license. So that's coming out of our last meeting when this board voted to purchase a Zoom license, which I did do, which we're using for this meeting right now. But Catherine, you sent an email where you expressed concerns about that, if you
Yeah,
want to
it
share
sounds
that.
like you shared it with your board members.
Mhm.
Did you approve the minutes?
We did.
I probably breezed past that. One thing you didn't have about.
Oh, actually, I
didn't think
We skipped it.
Yeah.
So I had something about your minutes, so when you go back to them, I have a comment.
What's the other- what's that noise?
All right,
Back to this.
because I left the meeting.
Mhm.
At a point, so I did not hear the rest of your conversations about this. I was not part of it. Okay, so I sent you a write-up. Do you have questions about the write-up?
No,
Well, I guess my question is,
And by the way, and as I indicated, you're more than welcome to come to a Board of Selectmen meeting to talk to the full board about it, not just me or Bill at this point.
I guess I want to understand why, because you say in your message that regardless of the available funds in your department's budget, the Board of Finance does not have the authority to implement this change in town management of online meetings and software tools. And to my reading of state statute, I think we do have the authority to do that. So I would just like to
You're talking
understand.
well, first of all. All POs and all checks are signed by the CEO. Just so you know, everything that comes in. And the agreements. You're talking about adding into what is essentially, I'm gonna call it our IT infrastructure, when you're talking about adding another Zoom account to it. Okay, and you're talking about something that's kind of personalized to this board. And I believe our selectmen are in agreement, and we will talk about it more should you come before us. Is that we're not looking to be managing, as a town, managing more than one at this point. So you don't own the license, the town does. Your board does not own it, the town does. And maybe we should have an, off meeting discussion about what the town has authority over and what they're responsible, what we as the selectmen are responsible for overseeing. And that includes security, all of that.
So I guess the other piece of it that I find confusing is I have been asked to make copies at Staples of annual reports and other documents. I do that on my credit card and then I get reimbursed, and I've never had to go to anybody to get approval for that. And this is in line with that spending, so
Actually, I'm surprised you do it on your credit card, because when I was chair, I did it on the town credit card. The bottom line is that you are doing something that is a requirement to make those copies, correct? It is of the budget, not the annual report. The budget, if I recall, and if you look back at your boards of finance book, if you will, that was published many years ago, but it is what we go by. We are required to make hard copies of, I believe it is supposed to be 10%. Is it 10% of the town population? In the past, we haven't done 10%, but we have adhered to the, not the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. We've made it 40 to 60 copies of budgets so that people can come in and get them, so we can hand them out at the public hearing on the budget and the annual town meeting where the budget is presented again by the selectmen. And so that is a requirement. And that's not something, this is not required. Okay, this is,
I'm not saying it's required.
no, but that's different. You're talking, and I'm surprised that you're using your own credit card
Well,
because
that's
you,
what I was told by the treasurer to do, and I've submitted receipts and I've been reimbursed, so I'm following what people have told me to do.
okay, well,
And in the
I
meeting,
can talk to them about
in
it.
our last meeting last week, the treasurer was here and she heard our conversation about
Right.
acquiring the license, and she
Her
did
comment,
not say that we could not do it.
the treasurer is not the person who would make that decision. What the treasurer told you, if I understand correctly, because I've talked with her since then, she told you you had enough money in your budget
Mhm.
to do it.
Yeah.
Had you asked in our department, come and talked with me about it, I could have told you this. All right, and when I
Well, you
started,
chose to leave the meeting.
I did when I was cut off when I was speaking.
You chose to leave the meeting.
Yes, I did, because I was
Bill,
cut
did you
off.
have something you can say?
Well, I just wanted to add my 2 cents.
Sure.
I came to participate in part of it. As a board member, and we discussed this at length at our last meeting. I think the intent was to try to keep continuity on how we're handling Zoom meetings and addressing the public aspect with transparency. I have not looked into the statutes to see if you had the authority to do it or not or whatever, but I know Roger and I both felt, and we passed it on to Catherine, that we're open for discussion. If you'd like to come to a meeting and sort of share with our entire board exactly why you wanted it. I mean, I understand some of the background with some of the breaches that you've had and
What,
and that sort of thing. So, we appreciate your effort to improve that and to eliminate some outsiders coming in and embarrassing us all, but, my primary goal is to try to keep continuity. There are a lot of chairmen that we have in several committees that I think of want no part of any of the Zoom relations at all. In fact, several of them have gone just to public meetings, which is an option.
And that's what we discussed at our meeting last week
Yeah.
as well, is should we just go to an in-person meeting and forget all this? And quite frankly, I'm kind of ending up back there where I'm sort of tired of this conversation. But that's just my opinion. So I don't know if others have any thoughts.
Yeah, so a couple things. We had a long discussion at the last meeting about the fact that one reason we wanted to stay with the Zoom option was so the public could participate and or watch the video. And I've made it known throughout a bunch of different meetings that I prefer the in-person thing, but I am also one of the people who has to take advantage of the Zoom thing. However, I also know that the statute allows board members to participate via electronic devices without allowing the public to do the same. I still like the idea of the video getting out there because I also know that there are public members of the public who watch it at their leisure, if you will, rather than, because maybe they're working at this hour or whatever it may be. I do have a concern with the security part of this, in that I realize that the frequency of the Zoom bomb, or whatever you wanna call it, the interruptions, has been very low. But I come from a world where it's a zero tolerance world. So the fact of the matter is, I don't know what the one on the Conservation Commission was. I do know what the ones were with the Board of Fire, the Board of Ed.
One,
And the one on this one was very, very, I can't even describe how inappropriate it was. Luckily, I think everybody at that meeting was an adult and probably just turned it off.
Well,
So,
I think our recording secretary basically quit over it.
really.
It was that disturbing to her. She said she
No.
screamed and,
I'm sure she was,
she gave her
not-
notice
yeah.
like 2 days later.
So I guess my question is, I would put the question back to the Board of Selectmen, and maybe we do need to attend a meeting with them. I haven't made one in a
Yeah.
while, but, is the town willing to take responsibility for those events and try to do something to prevent them?
so if you had a special Zoom account just for the Board of Finance, how do you think you would handle, I want to put you in that scenario so that maybe I don't understand. How do you think you would handle that same thing coming up?
Well, with our own Zoom license, like I have right now, I have a waiting room set up so that randos can't come into the meeting. I also set up the settings, which is the number one thing. If you look up the Zoom best practices, they say use a waiting room. And that was the problem with the Tyke Zoom setup, is there is no waiting room. Everybody just comes right into the meeting. That's the number one thing they tell you not to do, if you look up Zoom's best practices for public meetings. So we have the waiting room so we can see. I also,
That's your personal account, correct?
no, I set it up under the Board of Finance email. So
Say that one more time, because you don't have a Board of Finance Zoom account, so. you
I
said
have a
Board of
Board of
Finance.
Finance email, so I purchased the license under
Mm.
BOF Ashford at Ashford Town Hall.
You have a Board of Finance email.
Mhm.
You don't need to purchase a license for that. An email,
No,
all,
no, I'm saying when I signed up for Zoom, you
oh,
sign up using an email.
so,
And I used the town email to sign up for it, because this
So-
board voted to spend that money.
And that would,
So
that
that's
way
what I
the
did.
account is attached to the board. and-
Right, and so whoever were to take this role from me would then inherit that login. If they chose to.
okay, so pardon my ignorance. We set up Board of Finance, I'm sorry, board emails and commission emails. One for each board, one for each commission,
Mhm.
which is the primary, that's how your communications are supposed to work. And all of those communications are subject to FOI.
Mhm.
So you're telling me that you set up your own Board of Finance email?
No, 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 no.
No, I'm not,
I did
you
not
set up your
set up my
own Zoom,
own email.
your own Zoom using your Board of Finance email.
Correct.
Okay. Do you use your Zoom for anything else?
No,
Only these meetings?
it would be exclusively for this. Yeah. I don't have a Zoom outside of what I just acquired because this board voted for me to purchase it.
In her defense, she did what we voted to do.
You're talking about last meeting?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking you would have this before, and I
No.
have, because I have not seen something come through for that purchase.
Right. I haven't sent the receipt to Sherry to be reimbursed yet.
Right, so I didn't know that you had
Correct.
done that.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Well, again, how would I know?
I was gonna discuss it at this meeting.
Okay, so you're telling me now, and I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about, okay, because I didn't see anything about this. The,
Other than. the
I'm gonna
fact that we
take,
voted. in the meeting to do it, so you knew from the
So again,
minutes.
you said, you actually purchased a Zoom account.
Correct. Because this board voted to do that.
I don't think that's well and fine, as you said, this board voted to do it, but you didn't run that through
So that's.
the
where I
selectman's
Quite
office.
frankly, that's where I disagree with you, because
Well, I
I
get it
look,
that you disagree.
I look at the Board of Finance handbook. It says clearly, in the towns which operate under the general statutes, the Board of Finance has complete charge of the town government's financial activities. Along with the budget making power goes the opportunity to coordinate all.
You don't
town
need to read the
government
rest of it. What
functions.
you do need to do is you need to explain to me how your Zoom recordings are getting into, they are town property. How are they getting passed and getting
I will get
logged?
them to Mike Tomato so he can upload them.
No, you will not do that. Okay, that will not fly. I will have a meeting. We will talk about this in our meeting about the security involved with that. All right, I
So-
documented it in this. The question I asked you was about, you know, how you thought you would prevent an attack, if you will.
Mhm.
So
I'd like.
I
to before we-
also,
oh,
will
sorry.
no, let me finish speaking,
No,
please.
Catherine, no, I am the chairman, I get to decide who talks when. The
I'm a
other
board
thing I
member.
want to share is the state statute says, and this is a statute that I shared with you. That says, regarding the members of the Board of Finance shall be sworn to a faithful performance of their
You
duties.
don't need to read
You're
that again. If you
interrupting
said
me.
it, you said
You're
you said it.
interrupting me now, so please stop. It says, no member shall receive compensation for his services as such, but the necessary expenses of the board, when approved, shall be paid by the town.
That's a security violation, just so you know. I did not spend 43 years in IT to not understand a security violation.
Catherine, I
No.
provided a state statute that I believe authorized this board to purchase a license. If that is not correct, please share a citation with us that says that that's not allowed.
I'm actually so shocked that you went ahead and did that without discussion upstairs with the selectman's office about adding a new account to the town. You cannot do that. That is a security
On what
violation.
basis?
And you are not an employee, nor are you a contractor that we have a contract with that ensures the security of our information, our data. You are a volunteer. I appreciate your position on this board, but you need to understand that there is more to the world, more to managing our town than just this board. And you are not unilaterally allowed to add to our technical infrastructure. You are not.
What is the
In
legal
fact, you can't
basis?
even get an email address unless I sign off.
What is the legal basis?
You're asking, I don't
You're
even have your
interrupting
thing.
me again. What is the legal basis for you to say that this board does not have the authority
I will provide
to
that.
purchase? Thank you. That's what we're asking.
Okay, that, by the way, that will not be approved when it comes across my desk. Because you did this without conversation with the Board of Selectmen before doing it. You also, prior to this, asked if you could move things from our old website yourself, if Karen didn't do it. And that would have made it so that we had to give you admin rights to, you are not an employee, you are not certified to be able to do that.
Just so everybody understands what she's talking about. There are documents that are missing from our new website that were Board of
old
Finance
documents.
They were supposed to be.
I noticed it and I asked Karen, could we please update them? And if you need help, I will volunteer my time and help you do it. That's all I said,
Right,
okay?
And
Because I
Karen-
do websites for a living.
and
So
Karen,
it would take me 10 minutes to update these documents.
you do websites for a living.
Mhm.
Our responsibility is to oversee the information, the data, and the integrity of the information that's going out on our website. That is not something that a volunteer can do.
then that's the answer.
You're not
right?
authorized.
I'm
do
sorry I
that.
volunteered to help.
That isn't the point.
Okay, the discussion that we're talking about is the possible action to revise the proposed 25-26 Board of Finance budget to include a Zoom license. I'm going to suggest that we not take any action on that. And that if Catherine, you want to provide some legal citation of how it is that we, as a Board of Finance, who has the financial authority of the town, is not authorized to spend $150, please do share that with me. And I won't move forward any further. And I'll give you time to do that research.
Can I suggest that we talk with the Board of Selectmen?
Yes, please come to our meeting.
Legal aspect. For the minute, I'm sorry, is the agenda up there or did the Zoom?
This is
go
the
up?
agenda. No, Zoom's still on.
Just making sure that everybody.
You're still there, right,
All
Howard?
6 people can see it.
I'm here. Yes.
Do we need a motion to table that? I can't remember.
It just says discussion and possible
Okay,
action.
so-
It's chairman's
We just-
discretion if she wants to do that.
I want someone to show me legally that we can't authorize that spending. Before I go, I do not believe that the Board of Finance has to go to the Board of Selectmen. As much as I like you, Bill, and I like the Board of Selectmen, I don't on principle believe that we have to go to you to spend one dime. I just don't.
Well, that's not entirely true, but there's a limit or a
Right.
number, a cap, right?
Certainly, well, no, the only thing we have to do is go to the town meeting.
Right.
So are you telling me I gotta do a town meeting for $150 Zoom license?
No, that's what I mean.
No.
There is a cap. I
And
appreciate,
listen, here's the other thing. She chose to leave the meeting. She could have had this conversation with us in the meeting.
You mean the last?
The last meeting, she chose to leave. And she has done it repeatedly, where she has hung up on me, she has screamed at me, she has left meetings, she has played games. And that's where I am done with that, okay? So that's why I'm heated and I apologize. But I don't believe that legally this board has to go to anybody to ask to spend $150. I just don't. So if you want to show me the legality that I have to do that and go talk to the Board of Selectmen, then we'll have that conversation. If that's the case, quite frankly, I'm going to say to this board, we're not doing Zooms anymore. I'm over it.
so can I revert back to the question and ask Bill something,
Sure.
since Catherine left? I'm still confused and concerned about Catherine's statement about the security violation. I appreciate the concern for the cybersecurity portion of that. But if the board in and of itself, and in this case, by default, or de facto, Christina, is monitoring the traffic inbound to the meeting, as long as she lets the public in. I don't know where the security issue is and how her purchasing a Zoom license for the Board of Finance was a security violation. So that would be where I would require clarification regarding that. The Board of Finance voted last meeting to purchase a license separately so that we could have secured meetings because we had been Zoom bombed. I think that was a pertinent action, given what happened. From there, it's very unclear to me why there's such a security violation. I don't understand that part. There, obviously, to get an email address is one thing, but anyway, that's where I guess I'm hung up on. If we don't want the Board of Finance or any board to have their own Zoom account, then fine, but I'm gonna say this. We pay Tyke to control the traffic and it's not happening.
Right.
So that means we have a security problem that's literally, and that was my question, is the Board of Selectmen willing to take on that responsibility, and then also the cost, because one of the reasons that we don't have that security anymore is because we've removed having the admin person here, that was done a while ago. And so it's an open meeting, which is convenient, because Mike or whoever his designated person is, doesn't have to be on the call. But when we've had problems with the Zoom link, we've had to cancel, and not just the Zoom bomb, we've had to cancel meetings previously because we couldn't, the link wouldn't work, it was the wrong link.
Right. And now, because I have a login,
Right,
I
you
can
could
fix the
control it,
problem, I
right.
can live
Right.
fix it.
So it's a
Instead of
two-way
us
street.
being at the mercy of a consultant who's not available at 7:30 at night.
And the other thing, and so as I said, I think we, as a board, whether it's somebody or you, Christina, we need to work with the board of selectmen. If that's the way they want to go, that's fine, but we need to get this straightened out so that we don't have those problems. And also, I just want to point something out. That this board. How many people you can put in
Hi,
here?
Jeff.
No, more
Oh.
so the,
Oh, the passcodes?
I can't remember that very long.
The people on this board and the board of selectmen are all elected positions. We are not necessarily volunteers. We ran for these positions, which means we are volunteers in that sense, but the townspeople, the taxpayers elected both boards. And we both have very specific responsibilities. We, in a sense, are the CFO and the board of selectmen is the CEO. But we need, it goes both ways. So I think that having an argument between the two boards is not gonna help the town whatsoever.
Well, I don't intend on arguing anything about it, and I think what's come clear is that we needed to find exactly what our rules are, if we have any rules regarding security and other commissions being allowed to have their own Zoom.
Right.
That frankly, the Board of Ed has been doing that right along.
Correct,
Right,
they have their own.
I
So
mean, I
what's,
was up there when we had that horrible situation, I think
so I guess,
you
so
were zoomed in at the time.
I was, and my children were on.
Bill, what's the difference between the board of finance and the board of education?
Well, so my point was gonna be, I see several questions coming out of this, and I think what we need to do is have some written guidelines. And that are substantiated by what the rationale is and why we have those. When I said I think continuity, what I meant by that is that I think we ought to have these guidelines that are applicable to all our boards and everything. If part of those guidelines is that if a board that's statutorily authorized to do that has the right to set up their own, well, then so be it. I mean, you know, but what I intend when my board gets together again, what I intend to bring up for discussion, I think we need a legal opinion about where the security breach is and whether or not you have statutory authority to go out and contract privately with somebody to help you
Well,
perform your duties.
Here's where I go. with
My
that.
guess is from your statute, you do have that authority from what you read.
But I don't wanna go down the road, Bill, of the town attorney and waste more money on why don't we just be
Yeah.
grown-ups and say this is an easy solution? Or if we're gonna go the town attorney route, I would please ask you not to, and then I will cancel this and we will use Tyke and that will be it. But because it is so useless to spend more taxpayer dollars calling this attorney and wasting so much of our time. Again, volunteer person, I was elected, but I do have 2 children and a full-time job and my own bullshit that I gotta deal with in my life, excuse my French.
Put
And
that in there.
I don't wanna spend any more time on this.
Well,
So
I'll
if
leave that up,
we- to
I'm
go
gonna
to-
leave that up to your board's discretion. I think there are some legitimate questions that have been raised by both sides. And I think it's simply a matter of fact for the Board of Selectmen to issue whatever that determination is. I don't wanna run into a situation like we ran into the school or whatever. I didn't see whatever happened the last time you guys ran into that, how bad it was or whatever, but I've never seen anything like what happened up at the school that time.
That's exactly what happened to us.
Yeah.
Same
Same
thing,
thing.
Exactly the same
the
thing.
films and the,
Yeah,
oh,
And the Conservation Commission, the same,
oh my.
same bomb, same thing.
And the number one thing, when I spoke to the FOI commission about this issue, he said, well, don't you have a waiting room? No, I can't have a waiting room because
'Cause you don't-
we have this goofy setup with Tyke and the rest. But how do I solve that problem? I solve that problem by getting a Zoom license for the board,
right,
which costs $159,
or we pay Tyke to come back and be here all the time.
which is gonna cost a lot more than $159.
Which is how we started with them.
Correct.
I mean, they had an administrator of each.
Right,
building
each
that They
building,
were zooming
right.
in, they handled numerous.
Well, I know, I had staff to schedule a meeting with Mike, so yeah, and that was part of the, I guess if you will, problem, and this was a solution. The current situation was or the previous situation was the solution until we had those issues. And then part of that was, there were several meetings, unfortunately, where the link was incorrect. And then we had to cancel a meeting, because if we don't have the correct link and for the public, and we advertising it as a, whatever, hybrid meeting, we're required to have that. So,
Well, it's gonna be up to your board on where we go from here, but I just think it's important that we get some questions answered and have something in writing that we can all read and agree, that's the law, this is the policy, or whatever it is.
Well, what do you guys wanna do? Do you want to rescind our vote from last week? And say that we no longer want the Board of Finance to have its own Zoom, so that we can avoid further consternation and further legal fees and et cetera? Or do we stay with what we have and the Board of Selectmen can choose to do its research that it wants to do? Or do we say, no more Zoom, this is way too much effort and time on everybody's behalf, let's just go to in-person meetings and be done with it?
The tough one.
I think in the interest of the public and not spending any more of the public's money, we can, or we could, go back to the Tyke model, if you will, and just make a note that, the security and the, I don't know what you wanna call it, health and welfare of the public. I mean, if we get Zoom bombed again, then I'll be the first one to bring a motion that we go in person only and call it there, because that's just not acceptable. I'm sorry. And here's the other thing. If the person can get into the meeting and do that, there's a lot of other things and information that they can dig out of that as well. My picture's on that camera, my voice is on on here, everybody's is. So from a security standpoint, it's a two-way street. So I'll listen to other people's input.
You'd have it already though, right?
Are you still within the return window?
Probably, because I just did it
You can probably.
a week ago.
I
No,
have one for, and this is why I say, like, I've struggled to understand the entire security thing, because I have one that I use for work, and work has one that we use as a group. It just depends on who's setting up the meeting. I have a Zoom account, we have Microsoft Team, I have Google Chat, like, it just depends on who's involved in the meeting, and my company IT department is impossible to deal with, so. I don't know. Pam, do you have any, I feel like I'm the only one talking, I don't know like that.
well. I feel like we're at loggerheads with the selectmen, that Catherine has her opinion on this, and that she's not willing to give Christina more autonomy leading our board in making this decision. I don't understand where there's a security problem with us having our own Zoom account. I don't see
I
the
don't
issue.
understand either.
I don't see why I mean, it's used for one purpose.
Mhm.
It's not personal,
Right,
it's business.
Yep.
And if other people do it, why would it be different for us?
Mhm.
I don't get that.
I don't get it either.
So,
Paula,
I
do you
mean-
have anything you wanna say?
Not really. I think
come on, Holly.
it's well, if you really look at it, everybody's kind of at a standstill. So if you want to hear back from the selectmen, like, should you take any action right now? Like, when do you need to cancel it by?
Probably have 30 days. I mean, I'd be comfortable letting it ride and see what you guys come back with.
That'd be my suggestion. Don't take any action. Let us get some more detail and explanation and get back to you.
All right,
All right, have we docked this one up to death?
yes.
Let's move on. Discussion of the 2025-2026 budget.
I'm going to excuse myself, but
Have a good
thank
night,
you
Bill.
folks for what you do.
Thanks for joining the party.
Stay warm.
Yeah, be careful.
Bye, Bill.
Good night.
Have a good one.
So I just wanted to share some updates.
Oh,
So,
no, oh.
no, I was talking now.
Oh.
I just wanted to share some updates, so what we know and what we don't know. So we know that Ashford's share of the student population for Region 19 is gonna go up. So for the current budget, we were responsible for 18.37% of the Region 19 budget. And it's projected that for 25-26, we're gonna be responsible for 19.66%. So if you look at last year's budget for Region 19, which was about $20.4 million, and you apply that new percentage, that's like a 5.81% increase. So without Region 19 even increasing their budget from last year, we're gonna be on the hook for
Right.
5% more. So Region 19's budget's probably gonna come in higher. So we can expect that increase is going to be north of 5.8%. Could be 6%, could be 7%, could be 8%. So that's something to take into consideration when we're looking at the other budgets. The Board of Education did vote to approve their budget, and they're asking, and now this can change. They're gonna come to us on February 20th and present a budget, but they're asking currently for a 5.46% increase. I have not heard anything about the town budget. The other pieces we don't know about are things like state funding. The governor hasn't even announced his budget yet, so we don't know what that's gonna be. We also don't know what the grand list is going to be. Typically, that's done by the end of January. But the assessor said that she's gonna need until probably mid-February. So if the grand list increases, that can help, adjust for other increases in other areas. But I doubt it's gonna increase enough that we wouldn't feel a 5 or 6% increase on some of these budgets. The other thing to keep in mind is that the tax cap on motor vehicles is likely to stay in place. So if you recall last year, motor vehicle mill rate tax cap is 32.46. Our residential personal property mill rate is higher than that. So basically, our homeowners shoulder a bigger share of the tax because the state has mandated that we cannot increase beyond 3.246 on cars.
32.6.
What did I say?
I know what you meant.
So again, I'm just sharing these things, keep in mind, that was a problem last year and it's gonna be a bigger problem this year, because every year that gap gets bigger. So that's gonna push the homeowners taxes up. So that's what I just wanted to share, based on those numbers, so like with the school board asking 5.46% and adjusting Region 19 for the new percentage. We're looking at already a 2.161 mil increase, and that's keeping the town government flat. So again, that's all very preliminary numbers. Don't run away and say, Christina says we're gonna do it." I'm not saying that. I'm just giving ballpark what we're looking at.
It's entirely possible.
So just keep that in mind, and as all the numbers come in, things will adjust. But that's where we're at with what's come in so far. Any comments or questions about that?
Do you know how many votes it took for Wellington last year to pass their budget?
I think there's passed on the second try.
They did?
Mhm.
Okay,
Pretty much all the ones around us that failed passed on the second try. Coventry, Collin, Wellington, there's only 2 votes. Hopefully we don't get there.
yeah, no.
We don't want to end up there. Our number one job is fair budget that's going to pass.
Mhm.
That's our job. And hopefully the community participates and gives us feedback, which we quite frankly haven't gotten recently.
Not the last several years.
You know, are we getting that dispensary coming in over there on,
100%.
are we gonna get tax revenue from it?
That's how it works.
Well, I'm
Every
just
business
hoping.
Every business that comes in town.
Well, I had heard that sometimes when dispensaries open, they get a grace period of like a year or so.
I
I
don't
had heard
know.
that, so I was just hoping
I don't know what.
that we weren't.
There is probably a lag in the tax roll of when things
Oh,
come on.
100%, but the grace period would apply to, my guess would be if that's a state thing.
Yeah,
That would apply to like sales and use tax, but dispensaries in particular, and I don't know all the details, but there are some specific taxes that are attached to them. Because of the product
yeah,
that are different, so I
Yeah.
don't even claim to know all the details, I haven't taken the time to look it up. But the actual business itself. That's just any other business.
okay.
All right. Any other discussion on the budget? All right, agenda items for the next meeting?
Hey, Christina, before you do that, do you wanna go back up and?
Oh, minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We have the special meeting minutes from January 16th, 2025. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I will, since I read them. Kayla sent them.
Right, anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second.
Ooh.
Let's let Howard second. Okay, any edits or amendments, changes? Catherine said she had some, but she left, so.
I think it was because she left, so she wanted to make a note that she left, but I'm trying to look, is that in here that,
No, it's not.
so I don't know what time she left though.
Is that something I should record?
Yeah, so normally when a board member or a requested member of the public is in attendance and they leave.
Oh,
We note it. In this case, Bill wasn't requested, but say he had been here for the presentation and he left in the middle, we just note it so that
okay.
the public knows that that person didn't stay the entire time, that's all. I guess a better example would be like, say I was working or I was on the road and I zoomed in and then I said, hey, I have to go. And I stepped out, as long as that board maintains a quorum, the meeting can continue, but it should be noted that a member stepped in. Sorry. It was always
All those
something.
in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. And thank you for reminding me to go back to that.
No problem.
Agenda items for the next meeting. I have a feeling we're going to be talking about Zoom again.
Briefly, seriously, briefly.
Remarks for the good of the board. I apologize for getting heated this evening. However, I do think that's important that the authority of this board is recognized and that the rules apply to everyone equally and no one gets to talk over anybody. It's not fun being the referee. I don't want to do it. But I also don't think it's okay for people to steamroll over other people. So that's all I have to say about that. Would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn at 8:05?
go on, Paul.
So moved.
Anybody want
second.
a second? Pam, second. All those in favor?
I.
Aye.
Thanks for joining, Holly.
Yes, thank you.
No problem.
Our transfer station thanks you.
Yeah.